everyone! Welcome to Dorks Are Dangerous, Chronicle 3, Session 5. We're getting close now towards the end of this. We have gone and brought the party back together, but before that, Ryanthal was able to get a quick look at one of the Watchers. Well, not a quick look, but he was able to dissect a Watcher, figure out how it works, what it tracks, a little bit of its inner workings, and some spells that may or may not affect it. That he was able to find a little bit more information about the green liquid that the Galashank unit had used during combat in the first session. Not all the alchemic components, unfortunately, but a little bit more of the sourcing and how it reacts to magic. He was also able to speak with the Region 3 briefly in order to obtain these items and gain access to the alchemic lab. And he was able to speak with Sandra, and he found a little bit more of how things work here in the Keep and in Diarden, in terms of how they all communicate. And then the rest of our party, things went a little awry there with the situation down in Diarden itself, people rioting from fear and seeing the soldiers out in force and guards being taken as well as prisoners in the giant iron cages. As you guys hurried through the city with the help of Whiskers, following underground passages to get back into the keep, the last place you wanted to be, as he teleported you in back to your commons area rooms, where you then attempted to find Sandra but were unsuccessful as she was still with Ryanthal at the time. You went and visited the gardens for a short time, and then you came back to the commons area with not sure where else to go, with Thomas in tow, dressed as the Archmedullus. And that is where we pick up. So Ryanthal, per our last interactions, how is Ryanthal feeling?
I think Ryanthal at this point, found out a lot of information, not the least of which is some stuff about Whiskers, although I'm... so I think, probably still, I think, reeling a little bit from not expecting some sort of little bit of a fake creature and finding out that it's a whole other fucking thing. I think that surprised him a bit. So I think he's I think he was left off in his room, just kind of in a little bit of a surprise, a little bit of a daze.
Perfect. So as you're sitting there, kind of coming back out of this all these emotions and the shock, you do hear something going on in the commons room, past the bathroom door and past your bedroom door. You hear voices, familiar voices, but that's strange because only a few minutes have passed since Whisker left your presence.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to do?
I think if I heard some commotion in the commons, I think that's the next spot I would head out to the common room and see what's going on, see if other individuals are around, or if it's servants or what have you.
All right, as you come out, Edmund, you see Ryanthal exit his room as you watch over Kenneth and your acquaintance in the corner.
I raise my barrel a bit and look over to you, Ryanthal. How long have you been in there?
Not too long. How have you been? What have you been up to?
We've discovered a lot. I look over to Keenan sleeping. I tried your room and no one answered. Not too long ago.
I could have sworn I've only been in there a couple minutes. Did you leave and come back?
We did, but since then. We've been here for probably an hour or so. Hold on. I move over to Kenneth and I kind of jostle him awake now that we have Ryanthal here.
Of course, he rouses in response.
Ryanthal's here. I know we had a lot of questions. Hopefully this doesn't interfere with your sleep too much, seeing as we just kind of got started.
Well, it is what it is at this point. Well, fantastic. What have you learned?
I've learned quite a bit about the clockwork, so I've learned a bit about the Watchers. Suppose we should start with Goodness. So one thing that's
Before-
important to know is apparently. Go ahead.
Sorry, before you do that, everyone roll me perception check, please. Ryan Thal with the 22. Edmund with the 3. You are bone tired, sir. It's taking all your focus just to focus on these two in the room. And Kenneth, perception 20. Nice. So, Kenneth and Ryanthal, you notice there's two very similar figures dressed in this room. One being Ryanthal, who you assumed at first was the Archmedulus with just wearing a helm instead of a mask, but then you actually see the Archmedulus in the other corner in the dark, where the rune fire crackling in the fireplace cannot hit him, wearing the mask you've seen already earlier today.
Shelton waves.
Ryanthal waves to Shelton.
He just stays in the corner.
I look over to the guy who's dressed as the Archmedulus, and I wave.
They look a little confused over at Edmund and Kenneth, and then kind of do a half wave back at you. Put their hand back down.
I look over to Edmund. So, what's this about then?
The guilty party.
The guilty party? You found the person who put the mind control device on the captain of the guard?
At least the one that left the message. So, part 1 of the mystery.
Okay. Well, great. What other information have you found from him? Do we
Well,
know
is
who he's
that-
working for? Do we know where to find them or how to contact them? Do we know why they're doing this?
is that everything that you found out? I was going to give you the floor.
Oh no! By all means, tell me what you've learned from the prisoner.
All right. I looked at Keith to take over.
Shelton pops his head out of the shadows and he goes, I can get more information out of him.
The other version of Shelton visibly starts and like shrinks as far back into the wall as he can.
So, yes?
What did we find out?
I don't know. I was busy sticking my dagger in him.
I mean, we found a tapestry, and it was partially burned, but it showed us locations of something of which I don't recollect at the moment. The locations of I don't remember.
I'll fill in the blanks. So, on this tapestry of the map, so from the prisoner specifically, you didn't find a whole lot of information other that he was the one that led Captain Daru into the alley. Your party did not find out from him who specifically they were, as he himself was not sure that he's doing all of this because he is hoping for a chance to A, see his wife again, and be able to leave Dire Den had he agreed to do all these things, which includes what is on that tapestry. That tapestry is a map of the city. When you, I guess, do you share the magic words to activate the map?
Yes, I would even speak them aloud.
Okay. So Ryanthal, what you hear is a combination of what sounds like two languages, almost like slang perchance, as the map itself glows and illuminates. And you see a bunch of different rooms and symbols appear on the map of the city. The bottom part of it, the bottom third, where it was originally burned, the runes are no longer there. But you see different sigils all across it, all linking up to very specific spots in Dire Den.
Well, this is something. Am I able to make anything else out as far as...
So, what you would know about the runes specifically, if I assume the party is sharing, 3 of the symbols that you can see refer to Patron, which is one of the Forge gods, who's also the main deity of Dire Den, the most revered one. Metronus, who was his wife, and then you see Twyla as well. The other one that you can see, as 2 of them have been removed to complete the circle, there is one more mark that is there. But I would need an Arcana to know what it is from you. An Arcana check.
14?
14. This is a mark you recognize well, actually. It is a school of wizardry. Transmutation, to be specific.
I see. Well, I suppose in looking at this, I look to the guys and say, well, in order to make sure you have the information that I have as well, I go ahead and would explain to them essentially the linkage between the Zolaran servants, that there are that there is a hierarchy to these Zolaran servants. There are some that are in upper ranking, so to speak, that for us would be indistinguishable from those that are of the normal rank and file. There is some sort of mechanism that I am still unsure of that allows essentially the upper ranking to see through and hear through the normal rank and file, or at least for the normal rank and file to report back up to the higher rank. There's some sort of linkage there where essentially if you tell something to one of the servants, they're all going to know, and they can feed
Like
up
a
the
hive
chain
mind.
instantly. Like a hive mind, exactly. It's like a hive mind. Yeah, there's like a hive mind kind of thing, and in addition to that hive mind also is included control over the Watchers and the Clockwork Guardians. So there are actually quite a few individuals that would have control over the Watchers, that would have control over the servants, that would have control over the magical safeties and precautions around the keep. Kind of letting them know, like, yeah, there's kind of the thought, like, the Viceroy might be the only one in control. Nah, it's, in fact, there's a great many folks. In fact, the Zolran servants in this upper echelon have access to the council room of the Regent 3, and some of them are even, including Sandra, even sit in on the council room of the Regent 3. So the Zolran servants are, either there's some sort of control mechanism in place that keeps them all in line, but there's, essentially anyone who's in that rank is going to have unimpeded access to everything. Also go on to explain the rumor that the Clockwork Master is possibly not one of the Regent 3. It sounds like it could be, well, the Viceroy obviously has a lot of knowledge and awareness of what goes on and how the Clockworks work. So there's a lot of concern I have on my end that the Viceroy is in fact the Clockwork Master, not one of the Regent 3, that the Regent 3 are just patsies, figureheads, so to speak. Let's see, what else? Oh, let them know that Whiskers, Agatha's little cat, that's not just a fake creature. That is some sort of eldritch being. Like a full-ass... That's not just a familiar cat. That is a full-ass eldritch being.
Is the cat still there?
You don't see him at the moment.
Figures.
I probably also
explained.
explained...
The chance.
Also, I'd explain too that Sandra had the ability to, it seems, break control for a short second. So there is some sort of something going on where they are able to... They're not wholly under control all the time. And it would seem that the actual Sandra is a position who's trusted, and she's an individual who's trusted, but it sounds like she is quite concerned for us. One of the leads I have is that she recommended that I kind of look around real quick. Yeah, one of the recommendations from her was to basically keep our heads low. And then I'm going to pull out the earrings and say, I was given these by, her name escapes me, the one who was attending to Agatha. Ebony, thank you. I was given these by Ebony. These are going to basically put these in, and they will allow you to cast Sending 5 times a day. It regains some charges each morning. However, it seems that using them it does not seem to be a secure channel. Using Sending this way would, in fact, inform the Viceroy and others of what messages are being communicated. So don't use these to say anything that you don't want anyone else to hear. And I pass those around. And I say also, I would recommend maybe not putting them on if you're having any clandestine conversations, such as the one we are now. And I would, of course, keep these kind of muffled away as I'm having this conversation.
Right.
I'm not speaking these directly into the earrings either. As I'm passing these around, I'm making sure that they're muffled in a sense. And I kind of look around and say, so, you
Are
folks
they
have already been...
active now, though?
Yes.
Even in a passive state?
Yes,
They would be
I
able
would
to
assume
hear
so.
us.
I would assume so.
So...
You
shall
want
we
to...
put these somewhere else as we continue to talk?
We certainly could put them in a pocket, something like that. It doesn't seem like they're so sensitive as Sandra was able to talk to me while I had these on my person, and while she had one in her own ear, although I don't know what control she has over them. But it does seem like we can probably communicate around them as long as we're mindful about it. But I would not recommend, if you put it in and then someone says, and then you say something, I think that would perhaps be a bit too much.
Hey, Ryan make an Arcana check for me on these, or a History.
I also would have cast Identify if I had the chance.
Okay.
But okay, do an Arcana. 25.
25, perfect. So Identify will do the same as what you've got here. So when this was happening, with the message you received, you were holding the earrings in your hand or had your hands in your pocket and touching them, which would lead you to believe these are touch-based.
Okay. I would explain that to Edmund then. So as long as you're not touching them, it seems like they're inert.
Okay.
And I look to them and say, all right, so the other thing is I was with Sandra when you were made with your fellow here. I suspect that as soon as anyone finds that you are back in the keep, there's probably going to be some commotion, and I think this fellow here will most likely be taken to, well, not sure what's going to happen, but I think there was going to be quite the commotion since they sent an entire battalion after you into the city.
Well,
we did encounter them in passing per our choice, and with some quick movement and decisions on Edmund's part, as well as some help from Whiskers.
Yeah, I heard the troop movements. It sounded like there were several dozen coming into the city specifically to get you. I assume by you all being here with your prisoner that you were successful in eluding that force.
It would appear to be. Go ahead, Edmund.
I was just going to say thanks to our Eldrick friend. We were given passage underneath the city through tunnels.
I see. All right. Okay. Well then, does anybody have an idea on what we should do next? I mean, personally, I am inclined to call the Viceroy and turn you all in, because right now I'm currently in their good graces, and I'd rather not tip my hat that I'm aware that there might be some corruption, so to speak, on that front. But I'm more than willing to listen to other options, since I think we have a better chance of running this down if we work together. But at the same time, I think if I don't call you out now, I think I'll have been made as well.
Heading bolt. No, I'm kidding.
This is how the party dies.
I look around and I'm like, perhaps I can go back into my room, close the door, and I don't know, allow you all to get a night's rest, and then I don't know. Would it make sense for one of you to knock me out? As much as I hate to say that.
I punch him in the face. No, kidding. Don't have to ask me twice.
See, all these things make
goes out
sense right now. Every one of these things makes sense right now. Stab, stab, guiding bolt, punch him in the face. Goes back to what I said in episode 1, where in session 1 or 2 was it that we're not really a party, we're just kind of going in the same direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm willing to help you guys out, but at the same time, I feel like I'm in a relatively safe position to continue my investigation without bringing the entire force of the keep down upon me, which I don't think you guys quite have the luxury of at the moment, unless you're willing to relinquish Thomas.
Well, that's the thing. Thomas is a prisoner. Thomas is responsible for a man's death. He is going to face justice. However, the corruption in the keep is preventing us from just handing him over, like was the original intention.
I think I kind of looked at him and say, well, we know that there's corruption in the keep. We know that this fellow here had a part to play. I think calling sole responsibility, I mean, he's not the masked man with the mind control device, right? There's obviously other forces at work here. He didn't act alone. Arguably, I would say, do we think that Thomas is working, or do we think that the prisoner here is working to fight against the corruption, or do we think that he's working for that corruption? Do we think he's working with the corrupted element, or do we think How many parties do we think are at work here? Right, there's going to be the loyalists, so that would be the Region 3 themselves, and then there's this other factions trying to oust the Region 3, which may or may not be associated with the Underground. Which do we think he is working for?
Neither.
The ousters, right? The rebellion? Neither.
No.
You suspect there's another group entirely that's just dedicated to chaos?
Well, he's doing this for his own self-interest.
I was going to say the same thing.
For his relationship. Whoever will bring him closest to his wife is who he's working for.
Yep.
So he's like a mercenary.
Not even. He just wants his wife back.
Yes, he's working for a party he has no affiliation for in order to receive a payment. Yes?
Yes. I just not agreement.
I see. So, I guess we still have a question of what to do.
I think that I would appreciate conversation with Sandra.
I believe I can get Sandra here without rousing any suspicions. However, I would mention that she is the one who called the guard on you. She's the one who notified the Viceroy that you were out in the city with a prisoner. So I can call Sandra here. I don't know what reaction she'll have.
Perhaps we set Thomas aside in one of the rooms, invite Sandra to meet with us here in the Commons, and address it that way, and leave it open-ended as simply we need to talk to her.
I think I know just the place. And I pop into my room real quick, and I would like to pull out a little cage. Right? That little cage we talked about that I have?
Yes.
I'm not going to do anything bad. I'm not doing anything crazy here.
Mm-hmm.
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cast Polymorph onto Thomas and turn him into perhaps a little white bunny.
Okay.
Or some other thing that a wizard might have with him to experiment on once in a while. Put the bunny into the cage, and then put the cage back in my room.
Okay.
And so long as I don't lose concentration, then Thomas is going to appear as just a little bunny in a cage, which I think would be
Do you
sufficient.
share this with everyone that this is the plan?
I would bring it up with everybody else and say, here's what I'm thinking about doing.
Especially
as a way of
Thomas?
Probably not telling Thomas. I would probably let Edmund and Keeneth know, but I probably wouldn't say it loudly enough.
Okay, I was about to say. Okay, you're being quiet around Thomas. Got it.
Yeah, I think you've referred to him as your prisoner enough times that I understand he might have some. But yeah, I would bring this up with Keeneth and Edmund. So yeah, I think that's my plan, unless you guys have any objections. If I do lose concentration on the spell, this will be good for an hour. If I lose concentration on the spell, it will be very bloody. So it's not a foolproof idea. There are some risks, but it keeps him out of the way. It keeps him from yelling. It keeps him from escaping.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah, this sounds reasonable.
Excellent. And then with a quick flicker, I will cast Polymorph on our dear friend Thomas.
Perfect. Now, is it just him and his does his clothes go with him, or is it just him? I assume all the clothes go with.
Yeah, let me post
you and everything on your person.
Perfect. Okay, I was debating whether or not his helm was going to go crash into the floor, but if it's everything, perfect.
Yep, and creatures limited in the actions it can perform by the nature of its new form. It can't speak, cast spells, or take any other action that requires hands or speech.
All right, you now have a little red rabbit in a cage.
Little cat rabbit in a cage, perfect. And I will just set that on my desk in my room. And then I say, okay, and then I will touch one of the... Well, before I do that, I will look to the other guys and say, okay, are you guys ready for Sandra to come?
I nod.
Yes.
Okay, then I will touch one of the earrings. Yes, I'll touch one of the earrings, and I will send a message to Sandra. Sandra, I had some additional questions regarding the alchemical components used for the anti-magic fluid that was used by the Galashank unit in that tech demo. I have a couple theories and a couple things written down here on paper. Would you be willing to come up to the commons area by my room so that we can discuss a couple ideas and possibilities I had in mind? You can let me know if I'm headed in the right direction.
A couple moments pass, and you hear, Certainly, the hour is late, but if this is what is keeping you from your rest, of course, I will be there momentarily.
Perfect. And then I put the earrings away and just look at the guys and say, all right, she's on her way up.
Now, is anyone doing anything in preparation for Sandra coming up here?
Sheldon's still hiding in the corner.
Okay. All right.
No, I'm just waiting.
Okay, Shelton, you are currently hiding in the opposite corner of where Thomas was on the far wall. So if she opens the door and does a decent perception check, never mind, she will never see you. With that 21 stealth. Ooh, 21 stealth. No. All right, cool.
In the shadows.
All right, a few minutes pass, about 10 minutes, and then you hear a knock at the door.
I look to Ed and Kenneth and say, well, it's showtime. And I walk over to the door and I slowly open the door.
You see a masked servant standing there.
Perfect. Do I know that this is Sandra?
Do you greet them?
Yeah, of course.
Then yes. Good evening, sir. You called for me.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for your time. If you could, I know it's quite late. I don't know if you guys sleep or what your deal is, so I apologize if I woke you. But yes, if you could please come in, and I lead her into the room and close the door behind her.
She nods and says, "It is no trouble," and then she comes into the threshold and sees, "Oh good, you all made it back safely."
I look to Edmund and Keith and say, well, all right. So yes, Sandra, yes, they've made it back safely. They requested to speak with you. I figured I'd ask for your presence, and here we are. I look to Keith and Edmund.
I'm just waiting to see if Edmund wants to say anything before I do anything.
Oh no, I'm letting you take the lead this time.
Right.
For reasons.
If I may, gentlemen, if I could speak alone with Sandra for a few moments, I think I could determine some certain things quickly without causing any issue, concern, or harm.
I think I look to Sandra and say, Sandra, will this be quite all right with you?
She looks at you for a moment, looks at Keenan and goes, "I suppose so."
Okay, then I nod to Keith.
I nod to Kenneth and I stand up, look to Ryanthal, and motion to which room do you want to go to?
Oh, I was thinking it would be best if perhaps if Keith and Sandra went into their room or into Keith's room, since we all have private dorms and such.
That makes sense. I sit back down.
All right, I escort her into my quarters.
She follows. She'll go through without any qualms.
And I leave the door open. We'll just speak under our breath and what have you, but I purposefully leave the door open.
Okay. She purposely goes to the other end of the room, she's picked up at what you're trying to do, so she's at the other end of the room as far from the door, but still inside of it.
Sandra.
Yes.
Obviously a private conversation.
Indeed.
Should I shut the door?
If that would make you feel more comfortable.
It isn't about my comfort at this point. It would be a mutual comfort.
I suppose it'd be the nature of your questions. I had meant to state something to the rest of the party, but that can wait in a moment, or I can tell you now and reiterate it later.
Yeah, please. Absolutely. Let's do that. Let's begin there.
I may have been untruthful with the professor. I did indeed call the soldiers to your location, but the Viceroy nor the Regent 3 have any awareness of this matter.
Oh, interesting. So then was it less strategic and more protection-based?
Yes, it was concerned with the situation of Diadon after seeing The commotion it was causing, guiding a bound and cloaked man through the streets while all the soldiers and clockworks were corralling people. I thought it best to try to get you here as quickly as possible. But as soon as I realized you were heading towards the church, it became a matter of concern whether the congregation, the bishop there, the patriarch, would also be taken by the soldiers for harboring a potential prisoner or a potential suspect should the viceroy find out.
Understood.
It will be a matter of time before he finds out, but I'm confident we still have some days before that is reviewed.
Are you aware of my direct report?
I am.
Are you in contact with them at all?
I have been unable to contact them in recent weeks.
I spoke recently through magical means with Kai Isun and said this, and she said the same, that they hadn't heard from you in quite some time, and so there was concern as to your safety or as to where things are, especially after certain parties have been implicated in what has happened here.
The concern is quite understandable. She sighs deeply. I know that which you seek, what the agreed upon terms were, and she's saying this part very quietly. I know it is here in the keep. I have been unable to locate it, specifically due to limitations placed on me. But I have a good idea of where it is. Do you trust the others to assist you in this matter? And with the matters that have been asked of you per your contact, our contact.
So I believe that I can trust Edmund. I know nothing of really, truly, of how are we referring to Shelton?
Archmedullus.
Archmedullus. I know very little, next to nothing of the Archmedullus. However, seems to be with us and not necessarily against us. As for Ryanthal, he seems to be very swayed currently by the Viceroy and or Regent 3. So trust is limited. As per what you're talking about, what we're looking for, and in any event, so as I stated, trust is limited and very uncertain.
Well, I believe the professor can be trusted to some extent. He's after something, clearly, but I do not believe he is with the forces that have set all this up. So another neutral party, potentially.
So, hold that for a moment. We believe that we have the person responsible for diverting the unfortunate soul that was overtaken by the clockwork. He was led down an alley, persuaded to go down an alley. So we have the individual that is responsible for that. However, this individual, I feel, has done what he's done, simply trying to retrieve his wife from the servants here in the keep. So that was the end of his role, of his part in this. I don't believe he's actually the one who had the capability or the knowledge to implant the control device or planned any of this or is behind any of this. But he would make a very easy scapegoat for the Regent 3. Not to mention the torture they would put him through to find out the information that they want. We have him in our custody, and I thought maybe we could get word or get him to Kaisun so that we could protect him, if you will, as I think he's about as innocent as anyone could be in this. Do you have any insight or thoughts on that?
She thinks for a moment and starts to nod and says, I think we can use the mine shafts. The underground has been smuggling people out of the city for some time now. Not large parties, and they do it about every 2 months or so. Those who don't wish to wait the 5 years and work themselves to the bone for a chance to leave safely.
Ah,
I could reach out to some contacts that way, but I will need to do it tonight as my interrogation begins tomorrow with the Viceroy.
well, you let us know how you want to proceed with that. Right now, we are burdened, if you will, with his keep, in such that we are limited as to where we can go, what we can do, how we can help, in basic investigations and questioning that we can make. So we need, as you're aware, so we need to take care of this matter as soon as possible.
Understood. I should be able to get him out, so to speak, come the morrow before I go down to the Viceroy. We might be able to use Whiskers in this case to get him to a safe house that is nearby. But we'll need to traverse carefully, and I'll need to acquire some items so that he is undetected walking through the keep.
What about his wife?
Who is she?
He refers to her as Becca.
Roll a perception check.
9.
She nods and goes, "Unfortunately, I don't think there is much to be done for her anymore."
Altered state, if you will. She's lost to us and him, is what you're saying?
She nods solemnly.
Understood. I don't think he's going to accept that, but so we may have to forcibly remove him. Or
don't tell him.
Or set false hope, or something to the, yes, deception as well.
That would be the best practice.
Very well. Then what would you have us do next?
Keep him here. I might have a way to help further your investigation. Come tomorrow after Ryanthal does his investigation of the guards who have been gathered in the keep, so that you have the evidence you need to potentially end all this once and for all. But I need this to be shared with the rest of the party as well.
Very well. I will... Is there anything that you would like me to report should I get opportunity?
Yes, but I need
And
more than just our ears to hear this for it to change.
I follow your lead.
All right. She will nod to you and walk back out into the commons area where I believe everyone else is still sitting.
I follow.
Okay. We can get your hostage, your informant, whatever you call him, out of the city come the morning, very early morning, before breakfast. I will have Whiskers meet you here, or if Ryanthal, you could call him. I believe you were given an item for that. He will be able to transport him to a location nearby, a safe house, where our contacts will be able to smuggle him out of the city without any watchers or the Region 3's knowledge. Something is happening to the people of this keep. I do not know what assumptions have been made, but the Zolern Keep does employ the brightest of its people here and puts them to work. However, and you see her start to take off a ring that is on her finger. Shelton, roll me perception. Actually, everyone's passive perceptions here. 14. Yeah, everyone roll for me real quick as she takes that off.
Perception roll?
Yep, everyone. 19, okay. For Ryanthal. 16 for Edmund, 15 for Kenneth, 19 for Sheldon. You all pass. You see her take off that ring. It looks exactly like the ring that Shelton had before the Viceroy took it. She sets it down. and says, "The Viceroy had nothing to do with this. He is unaware that this has happened." And she goes to remove her faceplate or her mask. And it's not a humanoid face underneath it. It can't even be called human. As you see a shimmering space of arcane blue, almost mirror-like surface swirling in front of you. And she removes the hood as iron and copper and various metals and mineral and ores decorate what is a humanoid head. And she looks at all of you. "I am Becca, and I was turned into this."
Gasp.
By who or what?
I don't recall, unfortunately. There are pieces of my memory that are still foggy. I know 3 weeks ago I was human. I know 3 weeks ago I worked here. And somewhere in that time, somewhere, I realized when I looked in the mirror, it wasn't my face anymore. I remember a dark room. I remember tools, flashes, pain, nightmares. But it was here. And I think I know at least how to get you closer to where this happened. But I need to delay my interrogation with the Viceroy. If he finds an error, or if the Regent 3 are present as he's doing the interrogation, I do not know I will be who you've met anymore. And I was hoping, with Ryanthal investigating the guards come tomorrow, I would have more time to at least grant you the entrance you would need to back down in the alchemic lab long enough for you to finish this, to figure out what is happening to us, what possibly happened to you. And she looks over at you, Shelton.
Does she know I'm there?
She does.
Shelton just stares at her and goes, "I don't know what you're talking about."
Of course you don't. And she says it very kindly, not rudely.
Well,
And as you all stare and gawk, she puts the cowl back on and puts the mask back on. "Will you help me bring this to an end?"
sure.
I look to the other guys and say, well, if this is happening to the various peoples here in the keep, I have a hard time thinking the Viceroy wouldn't be privy to how this is happening.
He did make it clear that he knows everything that goes on within the keep.
Sheldon just kind of makes his way over to Ryanthal now that he is no longer hiding in the corner. He goes, "Oh, it's kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
So are we doing this?"
Yeah, I suppose next question is what to do next. I mean, sounds like there's a plan to get Palmas out, but what's the next steps?
Well, I don't ask this task of all of you without something for you to gain. Keeneth already has an agreement with our organization, our group. What would you all wish to have in exchange for helping in this endeavor?
Sheldon kind of just like scratches his head.
You don't need to think of it now. It can be a favor in the future. It could be anything you need. It is an open-ended offer to those who would help us save those who are taken, those who have been changed forcefully.
I think Ryanthal would, at this point, kind of want to know.
If you have other questions, go ahead and ask them as well.
Yeah, so what's this higher power? What's this grouping? I mean, it sounds like there's a number of you who have been forcibly changed that are... I mean, my understanding is that whatever this changes is whatever's linking you together. And this would be something done by the Viceroy themselves. Why... it seems odd that you're all able to band together without the Viceroy knowing. Is there some other power that you are following? Now, obviously, you're familiar with Whiskers. What does Whiskers have to play in this? Where is that relationship from? Yeah, as well as what other powers do you serve?
To address Whiskers. Whiskers is something called an umbra feline. They are native to the underground, and they have a tendency to play with time and space, as it were. Small ripples here and there, able to push the clock forward or backward, depending on where they need to be. It is how Agnes, when she was smaller and still had the use of her legs, was able to sneak out of the keep and be back within a few moments, but in reality haven't been gone hours. That feline was a companion to her late mother, and when she passed, Whiskers attached themselves to her, whether it was for a contract of a familiar or shared mourning over a loved individual, I do not know. But he is loyal to her and wishes to see her well. And what is happening in this keep is a danger to her as well, and her incredible might.
I suppose on that front, should we find the root of all of this, it would seem that a lot of the structure of the city here, as it were, would not be able to withstand our undoing of some of these things. Seems like rather the elite are predicated on this being a thing that they do to innocent people. I can't imagine that that Agatha would be very safe here in the city once we do away with these machinations. Do you all have a plan for what will come after? How you'll survive? Where you'll go? What you'll do? Anything of that nature once things move forward?
I do not predict my survival in this. However, as I said, the Viceroy had nothing to do with my creation. He has never... Anything I have seen him work on has always been in the lab that you have seen. I have been with him with every upgrade to the soldiers, to the watchers, to the guardians. I have seen every inch of that lab. I've also seen how he acts around the Region 3. How his dream of a better society, of building a better kingdom, becomes darkened and crushed by their desires of him. To build stronger, faster, more dangerous machines. He had hoped the Galashank unit would be the bridge between both what the Region 3 wished and what was expected of the other kingdoms, a sense of control over these creations that did not expressly link back to Diarden. Free will, if you would. You may not have seen them in the last several hours as he attempts to find what went wrong today, to question everybody. But I have never seen his spirit more broken, other than the passing of his wife when he speaks of her. So in order to get them out, we need to remove the Region 3 and bring either new ones into power or make him the regent. For he is still loved by the people, although it has waned over the years. He is still very respected for his creations, not only in the military field, but in the medicinal and mundane creations that he has made for those who need him.
Let's do that. How do we do that?
There is a path to go deeper into the keep, past the dungeons, where I think I was, for a lack of a better term, reforged. I cannot personally go down there myself. I have limitations placed on me. But I might be able to show you the way and get you access to, at the very least, the alchemic lab, where I believe that door is.
And then once we're there, then what?
I am hoping the answers to ending this, to showing the world what is happening here, are there, and we'll smuggle you out to get these to the rest of the kingdoms. Even if that means the total takeover of Diarden, that would be preferred to this. And she looks at herself.
You said that the Viceroy had nothing to do with it. Do you have an idea of who is doing this?
Anytime I tried to recollect a face, a name, a sharp pain hurts in my head. It feels as if someone has caught fire in my skin and I cannot stop it until I move away from the subject. I do know they are close though. For whenever I drift to the lower levels of the keep, towards the council room, towards that lab, I feel that pain again.
Not to be rude, but can we have a moment to speak amongst ourselves? Do you mind just
Of course.
stepping out for a moment?
Of course.
Thank you.
And she goes into the hall.
Shelton turns to you guys and goes, "What are we thinking? Can we even trust this? This sounds like a trap. Lure us into a place that they can't go deep. What was it, underground? Sounds like a trap."
If it's a trap, then it's a trap that is unbeknownst to Sandra.
Why do you say that?
I trust her.
Do you? I mean, she could be being controlled right now. We don't
It
even
could
know.
be. You're not wrong.
Well, I'm down to do whatever you guys want to do.
Although I
like
do
stab
see,
something.
although I
Gonna
do see where you're coming from, where it does feel like a trap. It also would be too much of a giveaway if it was. We're the only ones in this keep that aren't under surveillance or under control. We may be the only ones able to get down there.
Hey, I mean, really grown accustomed to, doing the stabby stab stuff. So wherever you guys are going, I'm down. It's all right.
I think there could be more stabby in your future.
Listen, that's fine with me. Let's do it. Ryan, are you going?
Yeah, I don't see a whole lot of other choice other than forward at this point.
Randall's in. I'm in.
Ryan,
Right.
He comes over
This-
and daps you up.
Ryan, there's
Do a fist bump.
Fist bump.
mere moments ago, you were ready to turn us in for unless there was an alternative. This is said alternative. What do you feel now?
Well, ultimately, my concern was this attempted assassination of the Regent 3. We know that someone broke in. We know that there was some attempted assassination. As far as what their causes were, what their motives, and how what's going on seems to be an entirely different set of events. Knowing that Sandra is in fact not turning you in, and that this does in fact seem to be, yes, my concern was staying under the radar. This juncture, it seems that you're not on the radar, as it were. You're not in the limelight that I thought you were, so I think we can still work towards this mission, work towards finding answers and resolving this without creating other issues, so to speak. So yes, this is a fine alternative. I don't see at this point. I also don't know who I would even turn you into or what I would call it for.
Well, actually, I would state that you inadvertently we are turned into Sandra. So I would believe that alleviates that path and or issue.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't see the negative at this point of simply working openly with you. That was my concern, was that working openly with you may close off other avenues for us to resolve this, but that obstacle is removed. So yes, I have no trouble.
Edmund, what are you feeling?
I'm good to go. How are you all feeling, however? It's been a long day, and you've used a lot of your abilities already.
Certainly with the late hours, such as it were, few hours for myself, would 4 hours meditation to think, perhaps also prepare some different spells for this event. I did not come to Dyrden anticipating that we'd be assassinating the would-be rulers of this city. So it might not be a bad idea for me to take a moment's meditation and prepare some different spells.
I look to Sandra. Do we have the time to prepare ourselves?
She's out in the
Or is
hallway.
this- Oh.
Nope, fair.
So, do we have the time? Or is this mandatory that we make our move now?
Well, at this point, I believe she's going to help us deliver Thomas in the morrow, which I think defines our time frame as early AM. So if we're not watching him, I don't know who will.
I'll watch him. I don't particularly like sleeping, so I can watch him.
Then we move first thing in the morning then.
Agreed.
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 Are you guys doing
Well, let's-
watches, or are you just sleeping?
Well, I assume we have a conversation with her after we bring her back in.
Got it. Okay.
We invite Sandra back into the commons area to discuss.
Okay. She comes back in, shuts the door behind her.
Sandra, it would appear that we are in agreement as a group to delve into the underbelly of the keep. So any and all information that you can give us would be advantageous, of course. The big question is our time frame. Is it something that we need to do immediately, or is this something that we do after you take Thomas?
Thomas. As this is the first time you said the name out loud. Thomas who?
Thomas Jefferson.
Roll a deception check. With disadvantage, because that was...
You don't know who Thomas Jefferson is?
I answer. I'm like, you are aware exactly who.
Well, with disadvantage, it's a 9.
Okay, perfect.
Wait.
Any help?
Well, Edmund just...
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have Gift of Gab ready to go, but no, never mind. That's be something I said.
And I guidance him.
Thomas Older, your husband.
She stares at you for a long second. Seems
Way to
be
go.
frozen.
Made me look dumb.
Seems frozen for a moment.
I
and
think
goes,
this is good.
I see.
It's good. It's good therapy.
And she says, I see. Well then, anyway. Back to your questions.
What are we reading on that?
Make a perception check.
Insight, maybe?
Sorry, an insight. I'm sorry, yeah, insight. I'm so used to say perception now. 15 for Ryanthal.
15.
Nat
Ooh,
20,
me.
Keenan.
Oh yeah, scored a 27 on that.
Shelton with a 5. Shelton, you're just thinking stabby stab.
because I just had this in-depth conversation with her,
Mm-hmm.
and she just stated she's Becca.
Mm-hmm.
Has her, so at this point I'm trying to determine is whether or not this part of her memory has been wiped, or if she truly is not who she says. You know what I'm saying?
Got it. So the 17, the 21, you tell she's visibly tense about that topic and very uncomfortable suddenly. Keenan, with your 27, nat 20, in the way she speaks, in the way she holds herself and sort of turns her head away from Edmund to address the whole of you, it is a bit of sorrow and anger that is controlled in her voice as she goes, well, there are things we need to discuss in order to make sure this is done appropriately. And he will be taken care of come the morrow. As I stated, the plan does not deviate. And she goes, you will have the night to rest. I am aware that the professor wished to investigate the guards. You made that very evident to the Viceroy, from what I understand. It may be suspicious should you not attend that, but you could feign ignorance states that something else has caught your attention that may lead to more clues in this investigation. Whatever you wish to do there. I am not sure when I will be called, but it'll be either just before breakfast or just after, and I will need to move you during that time if we were to have a shot at this. I might be able
Very
to
well.
buy a little more time till early morning or mid-morning, but not by much.
Point being that we move in the morning.
And Professor, to your other question as to who holds power over the soldiers, when we spoke before, down in the lab. Not all servants have access to those soldiers. I do not know who else is awake, such as I. So tread carefully with your words around the others.
Understood.
And then she kind of pauses and goes, is there anything else I should know this night? And she looks at Edmund.
I think, is there anything else you should know that I'm forgetting?
It's more of the inflection of you just told her husband potentially is a prisoner and that he's the cause of all this, so it's more of a ripe emotion directed at you.
She didn't care the first time he came to her. She shouldn't care now. So no, I have nothing else to say.
You have no idea why she didn't react the first time.
Good
Nor
going,
do I
Edmund.
care
You
at
might as
this
well tell her. You might as well tell her he's an animal now too.
Oh, he's the rabbit in the next room.
Do you do that in character?
No.
I was like,
I did. I
please
did it in
do,
character.
please do.
No.
I said it in character.
You said it in character? Okay.
I said it in character. I mean, I have an intelligent fate, so he's not the smartest.
She looks at it and goes, what? And then she starts looking at each of the rooms. Just looking at them. Is Ryanthal's door closed?
Yes.
I assume it was closed, but I
Okay.
would absolutely, at this point, I would go in and
Shelly
grab
goes-
the bunny in a cage and hold it out and be like,
Shelly goes,
yeah, see, look,
"Good.
it's Thomas.
It's gonna be real good."
I interrupt her and say, Sandra, wait. He doesn't know. You just stated he shouldn't know. We've put him like this so that we could have a private conversation and to protect him. It was our only way of hiding him.
It's true.
It isn't out of malice. We're not trying to do any harm.
Well-
We're going to have to deal with him when we revert him back. But this is for his safety. It's not as bad as you think. You have to remember that his purpose was simply to regain and rescue you. He is not the cause of all of this. He is simply a tool along the way.
You have nothing to fear from me in this manner. As I stated.
I'm just stating that if he sees you, even in his current form, the deception will fail.
All right. Then, before more surprises occur this evening, I think we've all had enough of that. I bid you all adieu. If you need to reach me, use the earrings. They are a private channel when it comes to me. I cannot say the same for others.
Very well.
And with that, she will leave.
And we close the door behind her.
Good looking out.
Everyone, I do not know. We cannot be sure that they do not have. In fact, I would assume that they have surveillance here.
That could have went worse. Just saying.
You mean here in this room that essentially we've already been made?
Mm-hmm. That's correct. It has just occurred to me that anywhere in the keep could be compromised. And in all reality, if someone is watching and they are aware, we could be dragged right out of here at any moment or in the middle of the night. It all depends on who's watching. If it's the Viceroy and he knows that we are here to help, then we are fine. But if there's someone else,
Well, I don't sleep, so I can watch you guys. Y'all want to sleep?
we will need that.
Yeah, I can do that for you.
Then
I think-
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I think that Sandra knows a lot more about the inner workings of the keep than we do. It might be possible that there's something she's not aware of, but if she spoke freely in this room, surely she knows how to have some. Either she knows how to have some clandestine meetings, or this whole intent has been revealed long before this.
Right.
Yes, I think best at this point I think we have to just trust that she knows where the surveillance is, and if not, then she would. Well, if not, we were doomed before we started.
Agreed. It is something to keep thoughts on wherever we go and whatever we do.
The sooner we rest up, the sooner we can get this taken care of. So, with that, I bow my head and I retire off to my room.
Well, shouldn't we all sleep in the same room in case they come for us? I can't be in every single room.
I am willing to stay here. I think that we should keep Thomas in a room with someone.
We should probably be in the room with the guy that's keeping him as a pet.
Are we going to keep him as a pet?
It's
It's
less
not
an
a bad
hour.
option.
It only lasts an hour. I'll have to free him up pretty soon.
Can you just
No.
recast it?
I cannot. It's a 4th level spell. I only got 2 of those slots.
Oh.
It's taxing and vexing.
Oh, we had a little mascot.
It's a very cute white rabbit.
Well, does anybody have any rope? We can just tie him up.
Well, so far he's been very amenable to working with us.
Now, a better question is, did he hear or see anything while she was going room to room? Like when he popped out of bunny form, is he going to know things?
I think as soon as we pop him out of bunny form, we'll know the answer to that.
All right, I'll have my daggers ready.
No more stabbing. You've stabbed him enough already.
Well, he kind of deserves it, does he not?
No,
What?
actually.
Hmm.
Save the stabbing for the people who really need the stabbing.
Well, he's got a real stabbable face.
Well, no, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
All right, I think with that, I open up the cage, grab the Thomas Bunny out, take him into the common room,
Mm-hmm.
and dismiss the spell.
So as you dismiss the spell, he does a little bit of a nose twitch and goes, "What was that for? I've been quiet this whole time." And he sees Sheldon. Ah! Scoots back to the corner.
He kind of just like waves at him with like the fingers, like the finger wave.
I look to Thomas and I say, it was a precaution on my behalf. I was not sure how our company was going to respond to you. I thought it might be safer for you to be unidentifiable.
You were turned into a bunny.
Oh, that explains the craving for carrots. All right. What now?
Well, I think now the plan is that we're going to tie you up to a chair, and then we're all going to go to bed, except for Sheldon here, who will be basically standing guard with his knives as we all get some rest.
Can we
Except for you.
not
Well,
have knives on him? He looks very scaredly at Shelton.
All right. I'll put the knives away. And he pulls out his rapier.
He's gonna kill me. You do know that, right? He is going to kill me. I will scream.
Well, then I will cut out your tongue.
I look over at Thomas and Sheldon and say, I'll be going through my spell book and doing some meditation. I'll still be here. So Don't worry, if he kills you, we'll all be fully aware.
You know, Thomas, I'm really actually a pretty good guy when you get to know me.
I strongly doubt that.
I don't know. I have friends. Where are your friends?
Back in town where you kidnapped me.
Well, see, I can prove I have friends right now. You can't, so I win.
Somehow it makes sense you're friends with a bunch of psychopaths. Looks at all of you. Look, I'm not gonna go anywhere. I'm in the last place I want to be.
To be fair, these psychopaths did heal you.
After you stabbed me 2 times.
Yeah, but we healed you.
No,
Makes
there's
up
no
for it.
we. The other less psychopath healed me.
collectively, me and my friends healed you.
The only person in here that I vaguely am okay with is the guy with the wooden carved face. No offense. And he looks over at you, Kenneth.
Very well. I give him a thumbs up.
We're the psychopaths and he caused someone to die. Fucking hypocrite. I'm running this dude through.
You're asleep, sir, and you're not here. You should.
I dream about stabbing him to death.
Oh, they are
Having?
wonderful dreams, Edmund. They are wonderful dreams.
By order of my god. Because I'm a felon.
So do we tie him up now or later?
Well, no time like the present. I think big yawn, big stretch, and then set Thomas down on a chair.
He doesn't resist. He knows what happened last time he tried to resist.
Shelton just stares at him the entire night. Doesn't move.
And that is how Thomas gets a level of exhaustion.
Thomas gets a level of exhaustion?
It's a joke because he is not sleeping with you staring at him like a dead fish.
Oh. Yeah, yeah. He full on just like zones out and stares directly at him the entire night. Doesn't even move, is not leaning up against the wall, just standing.
Love it. Okay. The night goes uneventful for you as you're out there and everyone else is likely gone to bed. Thomas, occasionally his head starts to nod, but throughout the night he just stares back at you like a deer in the headlights. Terrified that that rapier is going to find its way into his body somehow. And in your rooms and in the commons room, you see the Jade Knight crystals start to go from that deep indigo blue to just barely start to brighten up and get a little brighter in your room. You can all take a long rest on your character sheets.
Fabulous long rest. We needed that.
It's been a crazy 19 hours almost. I was kidding.
Shelton's still just staring at him.
I feel like you don't blink behind that thing. He indicates to your mask as best as he can.
He whispers to him, he goes, "You need eyelids to blink."
You can tell he wants to scream and a vein starts popping out of his forehead as he just bug-eyed stares at you and he goes sheet white.
Good.
What are the rest of you doing?
I full on am dedicating this entire campaign to just torturing Thomas.
Noted.
Well, Ryanthal is going to take the time to open up his spellbook and go through and maybe get rid of some of his more diplomatic spells and replacement for some of his more explodey spells.
Okay.
I am praying and communing with my god as well. Also swapping some spells around.
Okay.
Going through spells for sure. Casting Vigilant Blessing on myself.
Okay. The Jade Knight crystals start to glow a little bit more, brighter. Are any of you wearing your earrings?
I am not.
I don't think I can wear an earring.
Somehow we'll make it work. You just drill it inside your head.
Hanging in
Actually,
the
I think Ryanthal,
hole.
since we're... Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, Kenneth would be. Kenneth.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Ryanthal, if I'm under the impression that we are done having secretive conversations, I would put the earring in just to avoid suspicion.
Perfect. So as you two put in your earrings, maybe another 30-ish minutes goes by when you get a message from someone that says, this is Sandra. Are you ready for Thomas to be ferried?
1 moment. I try to call everybody into the common area. Is everyone prepared, or do you need more time?
I'm good to go.
Do it.
We are prepared.
All right. And then, Ryanthal, you get a second message that says, once this is done, you need to tell me whether or not you wish to go see the Viceroy for the interrogations of the guard or not. Or what your excuse would be to not do that.
Yes, well, I think we'll have to see how things go. I'll have an answer prepared by the time the Viceroy contacts us.
And then you hear a scratching at the door,
I open the door.
and in comes Whiskers. Meow.
Scritch whiskers underneath his chin.
Purrs up you happily. If only two of you still have the earrings, you'll get the second message that says, let Whiskers know when you are ready. He will ferry Thomas to the closest safe house.
I give Whiskers a thumbs up.
You all see Whiskers nod at Ryanthal, turn to look at Thomas. And Thomas kind of looks at the cat and goes, oh no. As Whiskers suddenly elongates and enlarges to the size of a medium-sized creature, about 6 feet tall, body broadening, widening out to like almost wing-like distance, expanding another 8 feet wide as it curls around Thomas so gently, smiles down at him, and then just encases around him and disappears in a flash of smoke and blackness. And Thomas is no longer with you. Neither is Whiskers.
We're all okay with that? Okay.
Sheldon's
Ryanthal looks over to Edmund and goes,
Oh, okay.
Sheldon's really upset because Thomas is gone now.
We'll get you a new torture buddy.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Dave?
Oh, I think Ryanthal looks over to Edmund and goes, well, that was easier than it was expected, wasn't it? I thought we were gonna... I don't know why that needed to wait till morning. All right.
Let's get going then.
Shortly after that, Sandra, you hear a knock on the door, and it's Sandra. And she comes in and goes, I have these for you. And she pulls out 4 sets of amulets and goes, these are what I could get a hold of quickly. They have a duration on them, unfortunately. And she hands one to each of you and says, these will protect you from being seen by the Watchers for a time. I can give you about 3 to 4 hours at most. If there becomes an alert situation where they need to be more careful in the keep other than watching the rest of us, that might be reduced to 2. But if we are to go, we are to go now. Unless you need more time, I might be able to scrape by another hour before we activate these.
And what will these do?
These will protect you from being seen. They're basically amulets for protection from scrying.
Limited invisibility, sure. Oh, okay.
Yeah. As the security system is scrying based. Are we ready to go, or do you need more time? Or Ryanthal, do you need to go see the Viceroy?
Where'd Thomas go?
He's at the safe house, as I mentioned.
Didn't look very safe.
Whiskers has that effect on people.
I think Ryanthal just kind of looks at the amulet and kind of just says aloud, for not loud enough for Kenneth and Edmund to hear, and says, interesting. So these amulets would protect us from being spotted by the Watchers, same as the individual who did put that mind control device onto Duru.
If you're indicating that Thomas possibly had one on his person, yes, it is likely.
All right, then. And I think I'll simply If it's now or never, I think I'll simply inform the Viceroy. I'll inform the Viceroy that we are currently indisposed. There's some critical things that require immediate attention related to the case, and basically just tell them to hold the guard at the ready for a while as we then we'll go about our business, and yeah, I'll just have them hold the guard indefinitely and just have everybody standing around and see how long they'll keep that up.
Okay, you send him that message. He sends back, I cannot delay this forever, but I can give you the day. I will begin the interrogations of some of the servants that have been pending now, though.
I think I also, well, if I'm in contact with the Viceroy, I think I also tell the Viceroy, just as a quick heads up, that he should be doing these investigations in private. I think he knows that already. Yeah, never mind. I'm not telling him anything.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
We'll carry on.
Okay. If everyone is ready, can you put on your medallions? She will start walking out. And as you walk, let's see, your perceptions are all high enough. You see the watchers, which normally would have spotted you and followed you for about 20 feet or so as you went, don't seem to pay you any attention as they kind of peruse around the hallways, crawling on the walls and ceilings and the nooks and crannies. Gently worrying.
Haley.
Yes?
Haley, quick question. Just
Answer.
in my brain rewinding.
Mm-hmm.
When we were traveling with Thomas disguised as Shelton yesterday, and we headed to the garden and the library,
Mm-hmm.
the individual that was following us, masked?
Yes.
So potentially exactly like Becca or Sandra.
Of a similar, yes, they were also a Zal and cloaked servant.
Very well. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay.
Continue.
No, you're fine. All right. And you continue to walk as, like I said, even the soldiers that are more in number here than what used to be of more of the cloaked servants pay you no mind. They do move out of the way as Sandra leads to part the seas, so to speak. Otherwise, they would have potentially just ran right into you unless you got out of their way. And you see certain soldiers start to peel off. She kind of looks to them and they move out of her way, pauses, holds her hand out for all of you to pause for about 5-10 seconds. A door opens and closes. You hear a set of footsteps, more than one, pass by down a hall where you cannot see them. She waits a little bit longer and then ducks down that corridor asking you to follow with her hand. She gets to the door, right, I thought you would recognize, that leads into the council room. And she lifts up her sleeve. Instead of a key, she waves her hand over the lock, encircles it, touches certain spots, and those same runes that lit up before with the key expand outwards and ripple like a wave out from the door, and you hear a click. And she opens it, gestures for you all to follow, and once you're all through, shuts the door. You come into a war council room. There's a giant circular desk in the center made of stone. There are about 8 chairs surrounding it. There are books and maps and various instruments on the walls. No windows, only jadeite crystals to light the room up. As she turns to a door to the west, there's also a door to the south directly ahead of you, but she turns to the west to the big double oak doors. She opens those and gestures for you all to go through, to follow her. She'll wait for you all to come through. We'll close the door. The hallway, 2 by 2, lights up with jadeite crystals as you walk, illuminating about 10 feet in front of you, down maybe a 20-foot corridor, this hallway, and you come into an alchemist lab, the one that Reinthal would recognize that he's been in before. And you see her wave her hand over this door, which you didn't see before, Reinthal. And instead of like the blue and reddish runes from before, these ones turn green. And then spread out and back to the center where the lock on the door is. And she goes, I'll help you search as best I can, but the way to where I think your artifact and where everything is happening, the doorway is in this room. And if everyone could make a investigation check for me, or what do you want to do now that you're in this 30 by 30 foot alchemist room?
Shelton is fully trying to grab one of these light crystals.
You try, but they're mounted into the walls.
He's like jamming his dagger behind it.
You can make a strength check if you like.
Can I give the help action?
Yes. Or athletics, whatever it is. Yeah, strength works too.
I'll do athletics.
Yeah, try athletics for me. Because that'd be the correct one.
Well, surprisingly, I did better on strength, even though I had +6 to athletics.
You do have advantage because you did get the help action from Ryan Thal.
Oh, cool.
So 11 and 16. Unfortunately, not enough to pry one of these crystals out. They are surprisingly strong.
Dang it.
Or durable, I guess would be the word. All right. And so, as you're in this room, Edmund, with your investigation, you don't see much. You're overwhelmed by the amount of equipment and bubbling vials and liquids and smells in here. All the copper and brass that more than you've ever seen, other than, in a different form other than armor and weapons. And I will say in this room, you do see a suit of what looks to be an original form of a guardian clockwork. It looks less durable than the ones you've seen out in the streets in the keep. The 7 foot tall, the 4 arms, the legs, not as much armor on it. Its central core and its stomach is more covered, shielded than the current models are. It has the same singular ocular orb in the center of its face. It is staring at the far wall where there is a giant bookcase, and above it a plaque that is inlaid with text. You see, yeah, that's what you see with your investigation 3. Does anyone else want to make an investigation or perception or what have you? Actually, investigation, yeah, as you're looking for things in this room. Ryanthal, since you've been in this room before, I'm going to say you make it with advantage because you've seen a lot of it. Everyone else is their first time. You've been in here before, so you're looking for something weird.
Perfect. That's still only going to be a 14 for me.
Okay.
What are we rolling?
Investigation. 17 for Keen. Perfect.
Investigation. Well, that is a 9.
All right. Keeneth, everyone else is searching. Ryanthal, you're trying to figure out what would be out of place in here. But Keeneth, you notice that from the Guardian clockwork, it should be all turned off and shut down. There should be nothing going on with it. You do see there's a faint pulsing in its blue ocular orb on its face. And you do see that light, just barely visible in this early morning light of the J-Knight crystals, is beaming across at that plaque on the opposite wall above the one of the bookshelves.
I pointed out to the party and say, "There's the light and the beaming at the plaque." I go up to it, and so it's beaming at the plaque or from the plaque?
At the plaque, and I assume you're reading it as you've gotten closer to it now.
Yes.
It says, "I only seek knowledge."
I say that out loud.
And I'll put that in the chat here for you in Roll20.
I think Ryanthal responds and looks at him and says, "If you only sought knowledge, I think you would have gone to the university or college or learned something other than just religion, don't you think? Seems a bit odd that you chose this course in life." Oh, the plaque. The plaque says that. Ah, right. Of course, this is not something you folks would say on your own free will. Yes.
That was great. And as you say that out loud, Sandra comes over and says, "I've seen the Viceroy come in here but never look at the map, but whenever I'm with the Region 3, they always tend to look up there for a while and then shoo me out of the room."
Shelton's completely lost inside this room. He doesn't know anything he's looking at.
So where is the light coming from?
It is coming from the Guardian clockwork across the room that is hung up, from its ocular orb specifically.
So, Ryanthal, you're the wizard man. You know this kind of stuff. What do we do?
Well, at a guess, it says I only see knowledge. I would imagine that we need to. It's got to be some sort of riddle where something goes in front of it. It's one of these weird things where someone will know exactly how a mechanism operates, but they leave this type of riddle as almost a reminder in case they happen to forget how to operate it. It's kind of a weird thing.
Shelton takes his book and just shoves it in front of it. Knowledge.
Where do you shove the book?
Right in front of the Oculus thing.
The ocular eye thing?
Yeah, the eye.
Nothing happens.
Knowledge. He takes it away. It's like, yeah, don't read it either.
Yeah, that was a good try. I was thinking there might maybe there's something else that represents knowledge that we could throw in front of it, but I think you're on the right track.
Maybe shoot some magic at it or something.
Yeah? All right. Well, there's a few options for that. I don't know if knowledge is the same as magic, but it's worth a shot. And I shoot firebolt at the plaque.
You shoot a whole firebolt at the plaque?
Wait, no. Fire's illegal here. Fire's illegal here. I forgot.
I was about to say,
Hold
you're
on.
going to shoot a fireball in the alchemic lab. Okay.
No, I'll use shocking grasp on the plaque.
Okay. Okay.
Shelton would have fully lived.
I was like, I don't even know what the damage is for that. Hang on. No, you
The
shot.
entire room explodes. Session's over.
Just blow up the entire keep. Right, fire's illegal. Yeah, right.
He's dead.
Okay, so you shocking grasp plaque, and it vibrates with the electric energy, but nothing happens after a couple of moments. And then a minute passes and nothing.
I look over to Edmund and say, "How about you? Do you have any ideas on something of this nature?"
So the plaque says I only see knowledge, correct?
Correct.
And looking around this room, there's tons of books, there's tons of vials, there's old mechanisms and gadgets and
Yes.
things like that.
That is correct.
What is shining on the plaque again? I'm sorry.
The ocular orb of the guardian clockwork across the room from it.
Okay. Can that orb be moved?
You can try.
I try to move it. I see if it turns.
You turn it this way and that. It's kind of stuck in there, but it does move. You could take a second and get it out.
Well, no, I want to leave it there, but
Mm.
it can target other things in the room with that light. Is that?
Yes, so it's currently illuminating that whole plaque. Think projector-like almost.
Okay. I try and just sweep the room with that light to see if anything else kind of stands out, or if the beam that is irradiating would fit somewhere
Okay.
in that line of sight.
Shelton's just taking more books and like shoving it up in the eye's face.
Okay. Edmund,
Knowledge.
Edmund, you move the head of the guardian, or the orb, so to speak, around to try and see if it fits anywhere else. It fits perfectly on that plaque, though. It doesn't fit anything nearly as perfectly as that.
Okay. Keeneth, you follow Twyla, right?
I do.
And Twyla is trickery, Twilight, and what else? Do you remember offhand?
Don't.
I can
Well, it's
tell
not-
you.
It's not knowledge, is it? I don't think so offhand.
I'm gonna pull it up for you guys. Un momento.
It's right here.
Tempest,
Knowledge is Mentia, Justinia,
Tempest,
Ashala,
Trickery, and
Tarsone,
Twilight.
and Nisa. That's
Yep.
so not knowledge. Okay.
Knowledge.
Is the word knowledge anywhere in this room?
Just probably make an investigation check.
You know, if anything that one guy taught me from the million ads that I saw, that knowledge comes from reading. And he always has a Lamborghini in his garage with a bookshelf. Anybody know who I'm talking about?
I do vaguely, and Edmund subscribes to the same person. As you look around the book with an 8, you look around, you do see a couple of books that say knowledge of the arcane arts, knowledge of transmutation, knowledge of just like various titles of books and scrolls that have the words knowledge on them as you're kind of looking around. But otherwise, knowledge is on the plaque and some books and scrolls that you see around the room.
Okay. Yeah, I really don't have much for this one.
All right, I'm gonna start opening up the scrolls and showing the scrolls to it.
Okay, you start opening scrolls and unfortunately nothing happens.
Just like tossing them behind me every time I.
And Sandra is staring up at the plaque itself for a long minute.
I take Sandra's head and just kind of like scoot it in front of the Oculus.
Ah, what are you doing?
Just bear with me. Bear with me. And just kind of puts her face like right in front of it.
Nothing happens as you
Nothing?
have her masked face staring at it.
So, Sandra, you said that the 3 would come in here, they would stare at that plaque, and then ask you to leave.
Yes, I was only allowed in here with them for a few minutes, whereas the Viceroy allowed me ample time to assist him.
And they never said anything when they were staring at it?
Not to me, not with me present.
All right. 3 of us stand in a line like they do and stare at it.
I don't necessarily know if it was standing. They would stand in front of it, but nothing would happen. I wonder if... Actually, perhaps three of us should stand in front of it. The beam, rather.
Beam, yes. He kind of looks at Ryanthal and does like the little crazy motion with his hand.
Ryanthal says, well, I think at this point I don't have any other ideas.
I will stare at the plaque, but I'm going to only stare at the word knowledge, and then kind of like those old 90s and 80s puzzles where like you just stare at it long enough until it comes at you. Like maybe that's it. Maybe like you just need to focus on knowledge and then something else will show around it. We got nothing.
I like it.
Everyone make me a straight intelligence check. Edmund with advantage.
Well, joke's on you guys, because I have a -1.
Joke's
But
on
I
you
got
guys, because I have a
15.
+4 and I rolled a 2.
I got 15 though. Shelton's
God,
smart.
God damn it,
And we
Edmund.
got his nat 20 with the 21.
Yes. Yeah, boy.
Oh, Keenan, do you want to roll as well?
Sure, I'm gonna roll. Oh, okay.
Oh, there you go.
Shelton don't even have a brain, but he doing big brain stuff.
Yeah, you do.
Something clicked.
Edmund,
This is way too low class for Ryanthall's level of thinking.
Yeah, he's like, whatever.
Look at this Ryanthal right now. He got a bunch of dummies trying to solve this puzzle.
Edmund notices it first. Keenan is quick on his heels. Shelton is a little behind the curve when it comes to him. And Ryanthal, you're still poring over scrolls and books and trying to figure out what else could be considered knowledge in the room.
A scooter is a sailboat.
He's taking a page out of the old Shelton book, trying to show it the books. I get it.
Oh, that's so tragic, Dave. Anyway, so Edmund.
Maybe the trick is that we need to send Sandra out of the room. Maybe she's causing the problem.
Do you send her out of the room?
Clearly not. That can't be it.
All right, so Edmund, as you're staring at the plaque and you're thinking, I just have to stare at knowledge, it clicks to you that part of your shadow from where you're standing is blocking part of the plaque. And that it definitely has something to do with knowledge, but probably also the plaque itself.
I kind of step over and move closer, and I like do shadow puppets, but just blocking out everything but knowledge.
With your hand, you are able to block out I see, but you're not quite able to get all all the way over to only. The word only.
I motion for Keeneth to step to the right. A little bit further. Right there. Till it's blacked out.
Or I'm sorry, so you can cover I only, but you
I
couldn't
do so.
cover C. And then so Keeneth comes over and he blocks the word C. And then you hear the stone wall indents, pulls away, the books and everything on it sink farther in, and a passage opens.
Well done.
He goes and pats him on the back, and he's like, "Good job." He looks at Ryanthal and just shakes his head.
Well, thank you, my friend. I pat you on the back. Get kind of weirded out because it's so bony. I think you need a sandwich, but I don't say anything because that's rude.
I think Ryanthal is probably still looking at some scrolls and just kind of glances up when this happens and goes, "Oh, well, suppose a broken clock is still right twice a day. Well done."
Yeah, the clock and breaking in twice.
I guess I'll go first. I lead the way.
What's the marching order besides Edmund going first?
I stealth in.
Just tell me what order you're going in first.
I'm behind Edmund
Okay.
if he's going first.
Okay.
I think Ryantal's bringing up the rear.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would mean Bruce is going to be in the middle as well. Dave, you hear Sandra's dangles on her body, the little like smashed coins, so to speak, on her body, stop jingling as you pass the threshold. That indicate when she moves.
As in, like, we stepped through this thing and...
She has not come through with you.
That's really sketch.
I think I mentioned this to the others and just say, hey, I think whatever has been going on with Sandra, I don't think she's able to follow us through. Just let everybody up and ahead of me now.
This is totally a trap.
Does anyone turn to look back at her?
Shelton looks back.
She hovers at the edge. She has placed a hand on the wall, but she's holding her head and sees you look at her and goes, "I can't pass. I can stay here as long as I can, but I can't go with you."
A lot of limitations on what these things can do, isn't there? I don't trust it. Let's keep going.
Okay, you all keep going. You are descending down a set of stone stairs, very narrow, one by one. The jadeite crystals space out more and more, so there's more darkness between the steps. And as you come to the threshold, you see a faint green light as you descend that grows brighter and brighter until... And with Shelton, you are stealthing. Is anyone else trying to be sneaky?
I don't think Randall's particularly trying to be sneaky, but also like not going in super loud.
Okay.
Same.
Shelton, your stealth was a 21. Thank you.
Way ahead of you.
You come down into a room of what is considered abject horror. Instead of tables full of equipment and tools and what have you, you're not sure what you expected down here, but you just see these giant tubes full of humanoid figures. You see men, women, humans, drow, drugar, all manner of races down here, lining the walls, bones and gears littering the wood and stone floor. There is a stench in the air, a decay, the sickly tang of copper. Does anyone go further into the room past the threshold?
I motion for everyone to stop behind me, and then I'm going to use Divine Sense.
Can you post Divine Sense for me in the chat so I could read it?
No.
Gonna get a big old divine sense right behind you.
You feel an ominous presence right behind you. No.
I know it's Ryanthal. It's fine.
Clearly.
This room, it's not so much the beings in the tanks as the room itself just overwhelms you. A few of these tubes do give off that noxious odor and nausea that just hits you like a ton of bricks, but it is the room itself. This foul, vile taste in the back of your throat.
That would be lovely if I could smell or taste. Sheldon has no idea other than what he can see.
Okay, so there's no
Shelton
fiends, undead, anything else like that in here.
Does your spell allow you to know which type, or just it might be one of those types? You know the type. I see it. You know the type.
Okay.
A couple of these tubes register as undead, but you don't sense any of the other types.
Okay. So they're alive and active. Are the beings moving inside their fluid or
Do you
inside
get
those tubes
closer?
that they're in? Yeah, I start walking forward. I pull my shield. I start walking.
Okay.
Before he leaves, I reach past Sheldon and put my hand on his shoulder and say, "Keep your wits about you."
And cast guidance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Ranthal, what are you doing?
Mage armor.
Okay. And then James, what are you doing? I saw you.
I'm just kind of slipping in to the side a little bit away from things and stealthing still.
Okay. Your 21 will hold here, so for stealth. Okay. You, Edmund, get closer to one of these tubes. The closest one to you that does not register undead. This one does not. But when you get closer to it, you see that what was supposedly human or looked human to you is actually encased partially in iron and wires that act as its veins, a skeletal system of copper and brass, plating over half the face where it is ripped around the jaw. It seems fused, and they are gently moving as if breathing inside there, eyes closed.
I go to one of the ones that registers as undead.
The one that registers undead, the skin has grayed and turned green in the odd yellowish liquid that it's suspended in. The teeth have rotted from its jaw, the metal corroded. And it does not breathe, but it twitches erratically as if in a nightmare. Tap, tap, tap as metal parts of its body hit the glass in its animated slumber. This one shorter than most others. Potentially a dwarvish folk of some sort, once upon a dream.
Is there a back exit out of this place?
There is.
Well, this isn't going anywhere. So we can leave this for now. I'm just curious if there's someone readily nearby. So I'm going to go check the exit, see if it's locked, open it.
You go to the back door, which is an iron gate type door. It is not all the way closed, but it is kind of ajar. Do you open it fully?
Yeah. If the rogue doesn't stop me, I open it fully.
Okay. Squeak! As the rusted hinges squeal in protest.
What a great sound effect.
Thank you. I try. I really try to scare.
Soundboard is real realistic now.
Anyway, so you open that door and you come into another chamber. This one, not nearly as decayed and disgusting as the first, but no less horrifying. As you see, stretched out, hanging aloft by chain suspended, partially at an angle so that its front half the legs are closer to the ground than the head is, which is lulled forward. A twin to what Sandra looks like now, and it's parts of its interior, wires and tubes and various other instruments hanging from its front. The faceplate dark, no glittering light like Sandra's to be seen. And it hangs over a table, and on that table is a giant tome opened up with runes and inscriptions fluttering out of its pages, softly, silently. And there is another door. And also within the room, if you look past this, there is a giant hole with a grate, maybe 5 feet to the left of where this soon-to-be clockwork creation hangs. And the chains go up to the ceiling on some sort of contraption that allows it to move along a tract in the ceiling. And if you look farther to the left, you'll see an empty tube, similar to the ones you saw in the other room. The glass front open, and remnants of that yellow liquid draining down towards that big hole between the two sections.
I motioned Oriathal to come forward to take a look at this tomb.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be my jam. Getting in there, looking around.
Okay, you go
All the many
to
things.
make an Arcana check for me.
That's
You-
1 plus 7, so that's an 8.
You've never seen anything like this before. The words on the page you feel like you should know, but they jump and leap and skitter out of your vision, almost as if you remember them suddenly but then forget as soon as you see them. The runes flashing in your face only to recede and sparkle and dissipate. And you can't seem to make heads or tails of what it says or what it is. Bruce, Kenneth, what are you doing?
I am just looking about the room with my hammer ready.
Okay, make me an investigate or a perception check. 19. You notice 2 things. The first of which, that tome looks oddly... It matches the description of what you've been looking for since this all began. You're almost...
And where exactly is that?
That is on the long table, almost directly beneath where the hanging clockwork creation is. It's what Edmund and Ryanthal are looking at currently, trying to decipher.
The tome or the...
The tome.
Yeah, okay.
The tome. The second thing you notice, other than obviously the other empty tube in the room and certain instruments on the walls that you're not sure what they're for, you look down the hole where the grates are and see that can be opened. But that's not what takes you aback. You look down there, and even though it is several miles down, you see hundreds, if not thousands, of corpses, all glittering of steel and flesh rotted below.
I approach the two of them as they're looking at the tome, and I reveal this to them. Gentlemen, this has been happening for a while. And I point to the grate.
I think now would be a good time for some fire.
Do you two look down the grate?
I reluctantly go over and look down.
With your...
Yeah, I think Brent will do the same.
Okay. With your divine sense so overwhelmed in this space, looking down there, you're almost blinded, and you near... Actually, I need you to make a Constitution save.
Do.
Your guidance.
Oh, yeah. I can determine after, though.
Yep. Oh, you're good.
I am not going to use it. That's a 23.
Perfect. You feel the bile rise up in your throat, but you're able to keep it down without much trouble. Just an inkling of it burns in the back as you see all the death and horror below, and your senses tell you that these are not just dead down there.
Time for some fire.
While they're looking at that, I try to read the tome as well.
All right, make me Arcana check.
Oh boy. I think I should just know this.
With advantage,
Twyla.
because it's Twyla.
17?
That's good enough. As you read over these leaping runes and words, they slow down for you almost, as if you seem to wave your hand over them and they follow the track of your hand and become intelligible words. What languages do you speak?
Abyssal, celestial, common, of course, and infernal.
Celestial, then. They come into form with celestial. And with those, and a few words pop up in Abyssal in here, it's almost as if the tome wants you to know what it has in here. And you see it reveals itself to you as a direct item of Twyla herself gifted to the world. The Tome of Dreamscape. And you read specifically that it has a spell of dream transfer prepared. And then as you're reading this, who is wearing the earrings currently?
I haven't put mine on yet.
Okay.
Keeneth is wearing his still.
Okay.
I think Ryanthal is still wearing his.
Okay. Keeneth and Ryanthal, you all of a sudden get a message over your earrings that says, hide. Hide, 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 hide. And it cuts off.
Gentlemen,
I think we look over to the others and say, "Time."
Sandra's
Company.
in trouble, and she just warned us to hide. Something's coming.
Then I hide.
Does everyone else hide?
Yes.
Oh, and I'll use my my bonus D4 on that one, so that'll be a 17.
Okay. Everyone roll stealth for me. Edmund, quick thinking, this room does not have a lot of places to hide in it, so you go into the other room. Ryanthal, you follow with an 18 as well. Edmund, 16, or 17 rather. You go back into that first room, even though your divine sense is still reeling, and you hide behind these tubes and tables and desks, wherever you can, basically, as there's more coverage here than in the second room. Keeneth, you easily find a spot within the room that is, you think you're well hidden in.
Very good.
Shelton as well, with your 19. After a minute, 2 minutes, holding your breath, weapons prepared, you see the Regent 3 come into view down the stairs and pause, looking at the room. One of them dragging Sandra by the leg, the light plate of her face, her mask gone, the light of her faceplate that showed blue before, empty and black. You see the Viceroy strung up between two of them, unconscious, as they start to walk between all of you. And then you hear in all of your heads, prepare this one. She is broken. And that's what we're going to call it tonight.
You're lucky you called it. I was about to stab one as it was walking by me. Start another hour of combat.
And that voice you all heard in your heads, in Ryanthal specifically, that was not a voice you recognized after talking to the Regent 3.
Not a voice?
You all heard it in your heads.
But we didn't understand it. We don't know who it was.
Nope.
Yeah, I kind of figure the Region 3 are being puppeteered by something or someone.
They're clearly not smart enough to do this. It's gonna be the daughter.
It's gonna be the fucking cat.
It's the cat and the daughter.
I think it's the old crone from the bakery.
And we save all this for Table for D4, boys. So thank you everyone for joining Chronicle 3 Session 5 as we are coming closer to the epic conclusion of Diarden, A Future Forged. Thank you everyone so much for listening. Please check out our socials. We have the Facebooks, the Instagrams, we got some of the TikToks. We are starting to put our stuff on YouTube now, so if you like YouTube and want to listen there, you can. Please check out our Patreon if you love our stuff. And Johnny, I think we got to thank some people on our Patreon.
We do.
Go ahead.
Well, I'll start. I'll thank Farlord.
And I will thank Sunnyside James.
Well, I'll thank Galashank.
Well, I'm not going to thank myself.
No, you wouldn't be thanking yourself. You'd be thanking Kaylee.
Exactly.
Anyway.
But on behalf of Dorks Are Dangerous, thank you, Kaylee Ann.
She says you're welcome. And just remember, everyone, dorks are very dangerous. Bye!
Bye.